I'm Alan Ng. I'm with Zorianna Kit, and on the Film Threat review show, we are reviewing SUMMERLAND. Welcome to the Film Threat review show. We're talking about SUMMERLAND. SUMMERLAND is the story of Alice, starring Gemma Arterton. She is a reclusive writer resigned to a solitary life on the seaside cliffs of southern England during World War II. And as the war rages, she is forced to adopt a young London evacuee named Frank. So, Zorianna, tell me, what did you think of, what rating do you give SUMMERLAND, and what did you think of it?
I'm going to give it a 7, and I will explain why. You know, you did a good job explaining the premise. If you wanted to be overly simplistic, you could just basically say that it's a young boy gets dropped off on the doorstep of a curmudgeonly woman. She gives him 1 week to stay there, and that's basically, he's got 7 days to like win over her cold heart. That's like the overly simplistic version of this film. But of course, I am oversimplifying it. To be honest, I think it's a wonderful little movie because it's not that simple. You know, we do get glimpses of this woman's younger life that presumably led her to become so cold-hearted. And sure enough, it was a lover. But in this case, it's a female lover. However, the film is not a lesbian love story at all. In fact, that part I would say is the tamest part of the film because it doesn't overshadow the real relationship portion of this film, which is between Alice, Gemma Arterton, and the young boy, and set against the backdrop of a war where things are uncertain and loss is inevitable. I do find it quite moving. And because Alice is an academic and she's providing some mythological and magical elements to the story, I think that elevates it slightly. And then, of course, there's this plot twist that happens about an hour into the film that just changes everything, and it's not a paint-by-number story at all. So I felt that a very simplistic premise had all these extra elements in it. They didn't all quite gel, but to me, it was a great summer movie to download and watch. And it stirred some emotions. I shed a few tears. I'm a little sap that way. It did make me cry. And so that's why I give it a 7.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of on the same page with you. I mean, I did like that it was a story of hope. And you don't necessarily find that a lot with LGBT stories, especially during that time. And, you know, I think what threw me, I gave it a 7 as well, but threw me about the movie was how it, you know, it's 3 really felt like separate stories. And, you know, I think I was more invested in the story between Alice and Frank than I necessarily was with the other stories. And it just felt like the, you know, the story of Alice's past, you know, basically it felt a little bit disconnected until the end. And so, you know, you're going down this parallel path, and when the swerve happens at the third act, you know, that really threw me out because I'm like, wow, this is an amazing set of coincidences, which you find out really isn't a coincidence. But it just really took me out of the movie at that moment. What I liked the best about the movie, though, was that relationship between Alice and Frank, you know, and, you know, the idea that, you know, she has to take this boy in, and of course the boy's going to teach her something about herself.
Yes,
but
exactly.
She's this very logical, scholarly, takes approach to the legends of Southern England at the time. And then you have this boy who more or less embraces it. And then there's this dynamic that occurs that I think plays out really well.
Yes, the whole flashback scene between her and her lover does feel like it's not connected to the story until it is connected. But I also think that was intentional because she was a different person back then. She was free. She was happy. She was a completely different person. She felt alive in this relationship that had to end because it was forbidden to have same-sex relationships. So in that sense, I forgive that disconnect. But it is true that we are much more invested in the boy-woman relationship, but I think that's by design. They were supposed to be invested in that.
Yeah, and like a British production, it's a long movie. It's longer than usual, and it does move at somewhat of a slow pace. And then I'll add one more thing I liked about it, but it was just this idea of her isolation, not only her self-isolation, but the isolation she felt from the town she lived in, and the rumors about, you know, her alternative lifestyle, so to speak, at that time.
Yeah, that's a good point too. I have found it a little unbelievable how the boy was too quick to accept her. What if I was in love with a woman? What if I did kiss a woman? How do you feel about that? And he was a little too like, oh, I don't care. I just, like, he didn't give it a second thought, which could be true, but I felt that given that day and age where it's not as it is today, I thought that was a little too quick, but I'm nitpicking. I don't mind.
Well, you know, I thought the same thing, but at the same time, I felt like if they had addressed it and if they had made it a plot point, then that would have just extended the movie out longer than I really wanted it to.
Yeah.
All right, so I gave SUMMERLAND a 7, and you did as well.
I'm giving it a 7 too. The acting was fantastic. Gemma Arterton was amazing. I've never seen her carry a movie before. Gugu Mbatha-Raw was terrific. This is an actress that can play period and then go do something modern like Apple TV's morning show. The boy was great. The acting was fantastic. So on that level, it's deserving to be viewed.
Absolutely. All right. Well, this is the Film Threat Review Show. Please visit filmthreat.com. We have a wealth of film reviews and articles, especially for independent filmmakers. You know, and have a great day.